The NFL draft is a few days away, and it is the best 3 days on the calendar. We will soon know which prospects go to which teams and what direction our favorite franchises are moving in. Today, to get y'all ready, we will have a 7-round 2023 NFL mock draft. What's crack-a-lackin'? It's your boy Broshmo, just in case you did not know, so go ahead. Become a bro and subscribe. Leave this video a thumbs up if you enjoy the content. As always, let me know what you think in the comment section below. Let's have that nice, beautiful football discourse real quick. We're going to be doing this by each draft class, and it's going to be in alphabetical order, so from Arizona to Washington. Also, I did include kickers, punters, special team players because, well, it wouldn't be too realistic if I didn't include those players, so they are here. But without further ado, let's go ahead, get into this sucker with the Arizona Cardinals draft class. And listen, I would have loved to trade back here, but I did do trades in this mock draft just to keep it simplistic. Keep in mind, I had to do 7 rounds, try to draft as well as I can for each and every team. So the obvious decision here is Will Anderson. I think he is the top non-quarterback prospect in this class, and we're going to take positional value and take into consideration red flags. So it is Will Anderson. And then the next guy, I really think with this being Jonathan Gaynon's first draft class, that he wants to make some safe picks. And I honestly, John Michael Schmitz is one of the safer prospects in this class. I think he's going to be a solid starting center in the NFL. And then at 66, I went with Keely Ringo. He was just kind of too good to pass up at that point. Zach Allen, that was a tough loss for the Cardinals this past season. Now he's on to Denver. So yay. But Kobe Turner, man, this dude's a twitched up athlete and very high character individual. You get to bring him into your locker room. I'm sure that's going to be awesome. Getting more weapons for D-Hop on the way out probably should be kind of a priority. That's kind of why you saw me address receiver. Granted, not relatively early. I didn't address it till pick 105, but I addressed it twice in this draft class. One with Rashee Rice. I thought that was actually a really good price for him. 105. I mean, this is a cat we're probably seeing go around 70 or 80. And then I grabbed Xavier Hutchinson out of Iowa State a little bit later. But in between there, I got more cornerback help with Jacorian Bennett. The dude flies. Had an all right Senior Bowl too. And then ending off the Cardinals draft, I grabbed Tyler Lacey. He's a bit of a tweener on the D line, but good player at the 213 of value. Let's go ahead, move on to the Atlanta Falcons. And the Falcons did cut Casey Hayward just last week, so there's no guarantee really Jeffrey Okudah will kind of turn out as many of us thought he would. He's kind of okay, well, you're in your contract year, so come out, hopefully you can play well and you could be a intricate part to this team. But you can't bet on that. Corner is such a volatile position, and it's just better to bring in more depth and more talent, and that's what I did with Devon Witherspoon. There's like links between him, now Iowa, DC, Avery, and Huxtable. So there's some dots there if you want to connect it. Jalen Hyatt is just fast. I was like, you know what? This team needs speed at receiver. So I snagged him. Tajay Spears, though, looked so good at 75. He's just a really nice change of pace back there with Tyler Algier. And then I took Andrew Voorhees. Listen, I know it's a 1-year flyer on him. He won't be playing this season because of the ACL. But he could come in the following year and compete for that left guard spot. Also grabbed KJ Henry, so got some edge depth there. Like you can't really address everything early in the draft, unfortunately, depending on how the board falls. So I wasn't really able to take edge really until this point. And then I grabbed a Braden Willis, which the dude's got halfback, like tight end 2, fullback potential and flexibility. I just think he's a better receiving threat than Keith Smith there. So grabbed him. And Jordan Howden it's good safety depth. I'm not gonna lie, like maybe he could compete with Richie Grant. I mean, I liked Richie Grant a lot more as a prospect coming in, but he's only really been okay the past couple of years. At the very least, Howden is very good special teams, a very good special teams player. So there we go. That's Atlanta's draft class. On to the Baltimore Ravens, and I'm just going to assume Lamar Jackson is coming back, which means you got to make him happy. And to be fair, with this first pick, you might be like scratching your head, Broderick Jones. And listen, the way the board fell, the top corners are off the board, and I could have taken Jordan Addison then, but man, they're paying OBJ a lot for, I know it's 1 year, but still. And Broderick Jones, like, being available to me, I wasn't expected, and I was like, you know what, I'll take it. Like, Ronnie Staley's often hurt, and they could actually move on from his contract after this season if they want to. Next, I took Corey Trice Jr. Dude just has great size. He moves exceptionally well. Zach Evans was a really good value at 124. Justice Hill is actually the only running back they have on contract after this season. And then I grabbed back-to-back receivers. Parker Washington basically being a running back who plays receiver. He's just really good after the catch. He's kind of this yak slot option. And then I grabbed Raheem Jarrett, who was best player of the board at the time and is just right now feels like a great athlete that happens to play football. But if you could maybe develop him into something more, keep in mind this dude was like a former 5-star. All right, next on the agenda here is the Buffalo Bills, and I grabbed Anton Harrison at 1 in the first round. Like, the Bills, honestly, they need to get a better offensive line. Their offensive line was just bad at moments, so I went out, I grabbed Anton Harrison because the Bills, they love athletes on their offensive line. And this offensive, like, in particular, tackle class falls off a cliff. So if you don't want grab one here, you're not getting one at 59. And at 91, there's still, the options aren't that sexy. So I grabbed Harrison. Trenton Simpson was one of the top guys on the board when I picked. And I don't think the Bills would mind replacing their super athletic, or the super athletic Tremaine Edmonds with another super athletic linebacker. Then I grabbed Kendre Miller in the third. I simply just don't trust Damian Harris to stay healthy. So Miller's one of the guys I really like in this class. At 130, Caillou Blue Kelly was just good value, good fit, good depth. And Trey Palmer snagged 7 picks later. Just a blazing fast slot receiver who can really be deadly in a 4 wide receiver sets. And pick 205. I don't love this pick. To me, it's a reach. PJ Mustapher. But, like, really looking at this class, there's not really a lot of meaty guys or stout run defenders. And that's why maybe you sometimes hear Mozzie Smith or Keanu Benton to the Bills, because after Daquan Jones went down, like, their run defense was pretty piss poor in the playoffs. So Mustapher is just a big meaty dude that can defend the run exceptionally well. And yeah, is it a bit of reach? Yeah, but you can't really ensure that you could get that guy as a UDFA. Because, like I said, this defensive interior class, like, further, like, there's guys that are like here and there, like, oh, those are really good, but for the most part, it's a bit undersized. All right, next we have the Carolina Panthers and Bryce Young. Bryce Young, he's the odds-on favorite, and he is my favorite. So really, no need to say more, man. They traded up to get a quarterback, and they might as well get the top quarterback in the class, in my opinion. Then I got some pass rush next to Brian Burns, because he doesn't really have that as of yet, and really should be one of the big priorities in this draft for the Panthers to target that, because it's just such a good draft class at the edge position. Felix Anudike-Uzomah is that. At 93, I grabbed Marvin Mims, who was just really good value, and he could compete for snaps early on. And then Ivan Pace Jr. was kind of like too hard to pass up. I'm going to be honest. At 114, like, I really trust Evero to kind of figure out how to utilize Ivan Pace to his fullest. Kobe Wooden is a bit of a tweener, but he's been a very productive player. And then to finish the draft off at 145, I grabbed run stuff in Mike linebacker in Cam Jones. But I was really happy with my first 4 picks there for the Panthers. Okay, we're going to the Chicago Bears. The Bears. So they trade back. They grabbed DJ Moore, so good on them. Now they have some extra resources going forward in terms of draft capital. And listen, Paris Johnson, man, him being there is just kind of one of the best options there for the Bears. He can play on either side of the offensive line, left or right. So, like, just try to complete your line, in my opinion. And then at 53, I grabbed Derek Hall. He's a 3-down edge defender who might have a bit more upside than maybe a guy like Isaiah Foskey. And for me, it was kind of a coin flip. But within the next pick at 61, Isaiah Foskey was there. So I was like, well, this team needs defensive line talent. So I grabbed Foskey. How you like that? A guy that's another dude that's I would say is a high floor player. And then the value was just simply too good at 64. And I snagged Josh Downs. Keep in mind, Darnell Mooney is a free agent after the season. Jaquelin Roy, I thought, was a really nice addition to the interior of the defensive line. And suddenly, you're feeling a little bit better. You're hoping out of those 3 guys, someone's got to hit. Christopher Smith was another good value. Just kind of add depth on the back end. Riley Moss, I thought, was a good fit for Eberflus's scheme. And then at 148, I addressed the interior again with Bryce Young at Alabama, because in Alabama interiors, they're always at least solid players. And then Jarrett Patterson out of Notre Dame coming in there, being a very mid-floor center. Cameron Latu being the final pick for the Bears. This is the second to last pick in the draft. Could end up being a tight end too. Regardless, it's good value. I was pretty satisfied with this class altogether. And then we got the Cincinnati Bengals, and yeah, I grabbed a Dalton Kincaid. He was the highest offensive player on my board at that time. Listen, Irv Smith probably gonna miss some games. The dude just gets banged up like that, and I really thought hard. Like, for me, this was Kincaid or DeJuan Jones, and I was like, you know what? I mean, unless they really move Jonah Williams, like, he's probably going to be the guy there. They have Leo Collins as well, and Carmen Jackson's somewhere around there. So I just grabbed Dalton Kincaid. And then at 60, I was very happy to take Julius Brents, man. Dude's a really good scheme fit. And then I did get that right tackle at pick 92 in Jalen Duncan. I think he's still a bit of a developmental guy, but very good against the run, moves well. I can see why a lot of people like him. I got him to be kind of the right tackle of the future. Kayshon Boutte at 131. Listen to me. Listen, he was forced to step up early as a freshman after Jamar Chase decided to opt out of the 2020 season. So never played with technically never played with Chase, never played with Burrow. But I don't know, man. Maybe there's some sort of LSU connection there. I don't know what the relationship is. But listen, it was good value there. And Tyler Boyd is a free agent after the season. Jalen Redmond was my pick at 163. Can kind of play a similar role to Zachary Carter, but I think Redmond's definitely a better athlete. So those guys can compete for time there, like the 5 tech spot. AJ Finley is a safety, honestly, at his best coming downhill, and he's got ball hawking ability. So, well, I don't know off the top of my head what Nick Scott's contract looks like. At the very least, I mean, this is a late day 3 pick, so I'm just trying to take guys that are reasonably high on my board. And then Isaiah Land is a cat that's transitioned to off-ball linebacker, but he has great pass rush upside. I thought he looked good at the Senior Bowl. Kind of had a hard time finding where he could be a good fit. That's why he fell to 246. All right, on to the Cleveland Browns here, as I snagged Devon Achane at 74 with their first pick. The dude is just has legit speed, and I think is a good complement to we got Nick Chubb. They also have Jerome Ford in that backfield as well. So, like, it's good running back backfield. Zach Pickens might have some of the highest end reps in this class on the interior. They're just few and far between for me, but you could add him to the interior, hoping you could probably coach that up. Chandler Zavala was there at 111. And I mean, to be fair, Joel Bitonio is 33. And after the 2023 season, they could probably financially start to consider moving on from him if they want to. So you could have Zavala be that heir apparent. Jair Brown is just good depth. Another guy who's a free agent next year, Grant Delpit, has really just been super inconsistent. Owen Popo is a freak athlete who could pay off later. It's a guy that needs a lot of development. Brenton Strange, honestly, was a really good pickup at 142, and he's going to be good for teams that like to play 12 personnel a ton. DTR, man, it grabbed Dorian Robson. Thompson Robinson, got his last names back mixed up there, but it is what it is. Too late to change it. But I was like, you know what? That's not a bad developmental option right there. So got him, and then finally addressed the edge. Listen, again, you're not gonna if you're not gonna be reaching, then you're not gonna be able to if you're not reaching, you're not gonna hit every need because you're just simply trying to add good players. I wasn't able to really get to edge until this last pick with Thomas Nkrumah out of Central Michigan. But overall, I was pretty happy with this class. Next, we got the Dallas Cowboys. Osiris Torrance is a good replacement for Connor McGovern. I think you could probably just move forward with Tyler Smith at left tackle. I don't know if they can get off of gosh, who's their left tackle? Tyron Smith? I don't know if they can get off his contract just yet, but hey, at 58, Jahmyr Gibbs, probably not going to be there in real life. I'm lower on running backs. This is me draft for every class. Of course, running backs fell a little bit, but this is great, man. He's available here. He could be one of the top guys at his position. Now you don't really have to re-sign Tony Pollard, so good for y'all. Jalen Jones is a big bodied corner that's actually a pretty good fit to the defense. And that's right, we got our first special team player. You might be like, 129? That's far too early for a kicker. Listen, the top guy went off at 124 last year, so I don't want to hear it. I'm not only drafting kickers and punters and one long snapper, but I'm doing it at positions that historically where they've gone, at least as of late. So Jack Moody being the top kicker on the board, took him here at 129. So, yeah, there you go. We got Tyler B. Oddish as a free agent after this season. So, Ricky Stromberg could maybe be his heir apparent. Grant DeBose will join Jalen Tolbert and Semi Fehoko. You kind of hope one of those guys maybe emerge as a wide receiver 3 or even just a 4. To be fair, Fehoko, though, is kind of a big special teamer for them. But, yeah, Grant DeBose was good value there. And bet you not a lot of y'all are familiar with Travis Bell out of Kenshaw State. But he's one of the few stout run defenders left in this class. So I was like, rather than, hey, maybe getting lucky and picking him up as a UDFA, let's just make sure that you get him by drafting him. And this is why people talk about Mozzie Smith or Keanu Benton going higher than people think. Mozzie Smith potentially being the pick there at 26 because you're not really going to have that pick later on in the draft. As you can see, couldn't really address it till pick 244. All right, we got the Denver Broncos here. This one's really easy, so I'm going to run through this sucker. But their first 2 picks, back-to-back, 67, 68, with Javonte Williams likely to miss at least most of the season. Might as well get one of the top running backs in the class. So for me, Zach Charbonnet was kind of a no-brainer. Even when Williams comes back, those are going to be 2 guys that complement each other exceptionally well. Also, with the following pick, I just added cornerback depth. And I thought DJ Turner, this dude's played plenty of man coverage over the course of his career there for Michigan. That kind of pairs up with Vance Joseph pretty darn well. The thing is, can he really play press at his size? In the NFL is kind of be a thing, so we'll see. But he's a good coverage fit, at least at this point. There's not a lot to choose from. The Broncos also, they had many of their wide receivers on the trading block, so Jayden Reed kind of felt like a good addition. Nick Hampton was just too good to pass up. He was the best player on the board, and now the Broncos have a ton of edge rushers. And Quindale Johnson is a very versatile defensive back, and could really play wherever you want him to. Ideally, man, he might be a guy that can compete with Caden Stearns, or maybe a long-term option in the slot. Like, he just has that type of versatility. So that was Denver's draft for me. On to the Detroit Lions. I can't wait to hear Detroit Lions fans. I was like, you know what? Set with corner with the top pick. Let's go ahead. Let's grab Tyree Wilson. He's probably the top defender on here, because spoiler alert, the other guy that I think is the best in this class, other than Will Anderson, went the pick before, so Tyree Wilson's kind of the top guy, and he gives them versatility, a guy that can kind of kick inside on passing downs, play outside, because he's such a good run defender. So we'll see how they really go. I do think this pick probably, there's a good chance it could be corner as well. I don't know, we'll see. But Quentin Johnston, baby, this is my boy. Straight up, listen. All the top cornerbacks were off the board by this pick. Like, Deontay Banks got snagged, pick ahead of me. So I was sitting there and like, okay, well, J-Mo's suspended for the first 6 games of the season. But you know what? Even if he wasn't, I love this pick of Quentin Johnston. It's just a great pick here. And then I grabbed a Hendon Hooker. I'm looking to the future. I'm looking to release. Looking just to move on from Jared Goff after next season, likely. And honestly, I was sitting there at the pick. I was like, if I don't take Hendon Hooker here, I probably won't get another chance at him. Like, you'd be like, well, you got pick 55. I was kind of looking. I was like, man, I don't think he'll be there for me. I really, really don't. So, yeah, I mean, pick 48, not a huge investment. So it just gives you a plan after Goff. Cam Smith, really good value there at 55. So that's great. He's got inside outside versatility. Garrett Williams at 81, exceptionally good value. Probably would be a top 50 prospect if not for the ACL injury. So I double dipped at the position that I kind of pushed back a little bit. So I was feeling good with those first 5 picks. Then I grabbed Henry To'oTo'o, who's a nice sideline-to-sideline linebacker. Grabbed Eric Gray, who's a good scat back option, especially when you consider how often hurt DeAndre Swift is. And then Scott Matlock is actually a sleeper in this class for me. Good rotation player, I think, almost immediately on the D-line. And then Jeremy Banks, who has the coverage prowess To'oTo'o is currently missing in his game. But honestly, both are really good athletes, and both are very exceptional, like, vocal leaders, locker room guys. So all in all, feeling good about Detroit's class. Let's move on to the Green Bay Packers. Now I got Jordan Love up there. So yeah, this is the thing, man. Once trades start to happen, man, it's really going to screw up my draft. So I'm going to post this bright and early Monday. That way, when news later comes out Monday of this trade, that trade, at least it had been up for a few hours before it got annihilated by trades. But for me, Jackson Smith and Jigba, you want a fair evaluation of Jordan Love. You do it with this pick. Take the first wide receiver on the board. Jackson Smith and Jigba kind of completes this wide receiver core, in my opinion. And then, listen, a lot of people are projecting Keon White being a Gutekunst pick there at 15. And I'm like, we got him in the 2nd round. So how do you like that? Sidney Brown would honestly would help the safety position that's kind of in a little trouble right now. Kind of is. And then, listen, Zach Kuntz, 116. Sign me up, man. This dude's uber athletic. And then I grabbed a kicker. You're welcome. In Chad Ryland, he's actually a cold weather kicker, so kind of the perfect guy to go there. Cameron Mitchell is a good fit for Joe Barry's defense there. And then I grabbed Justin Shorter and Robert Beal Jr. Robert Beal, just good depth at edge. Justin Shorter kind of has the pedigree, former Penn State prospect. Also the size, like this dude's a project worth taking on. And Jordan Love, honestly, he's going to need a backup. They don't really got a good backup back there. So Jaron Hall there at the back end of the 7th round felt fine. Colby Sorsdal out of William and Mary. He played tackle there, and he's a lot more technically put together than people give him credit for. And I think he's instant depth at really tackle or guard. So actually pretty happy with this class for the Packers. Next we have the Houston Texans, and I don't worry, Texans fans, I didn't take Will Levis, though in my predictive mock that's probably the case. But I took CJ Stroud. Listen, at this pick at 2, you're here, you have the ability to draft a quarterback, one of the top guys in this class. I say send it. You don't know what next year's class will look like. You don't know in a year's time what will happen, who will declare. You don't know if you'll even be picking in the vicinity to take that quarterback without giving up a lot of significant draft capital, or capital in general. So go ahead, take your guy. So I grabbed CJ Stroud. And then I really think D'Amico Ryans is going to put his fingerprint on the defensive line with this pick. And Myles Murphy has just been my guy. I think he's got so much upside, so I love taking him there. I'm fairly confident that D'Amico will be able to develop this guy into a very good pass rusher. And then I think D'Amico continues to put this fingerprint on the defense and grabs Keanu Benton at 33 for the defensive interior. That's pretty lackluster. And then I took a shot, man. I took a shot at 65 with Michael Wilson, who has prototypical size. He really impressed at the Senior Bowl. Like, this dude's release package is one of the best in the class. However, there are legit injury woes with him. And then the Texans, they didn't really address linebacker in the free agency. They don't really have long-term options there. So I grabbed Dorian Williams, man, because this dude's built like a Ryan's linebacker. And then Luke Schoonmaker actually is a pretty darn good fit for the Texans. Could be an heir apparent for Dalton Schultz. I think he only signed a 1 or 2 year deal. And then the Texans got their center, Juice Scruggs, probably the second best name in this class. Darryl Luter, just good depth at corner. Lonnie Phelps is one of my favorite players in this class. Dude has one of the biggest motors and will be a good special teams guy at the very least. Evan Hall, another guy that is just, you see it. He has great work ethic. He's a really good all-around back with also special teams and return experience. And then Nesta Jade Silvera, former Hurricane, then spent a year at Arizona State. Another guy that's a high motor, great attitude, great guy just to have in the locker room, a guy that lifts people up. And I really think he gets drafted because of that. And then Rashad Torrance II was Mr. Irrelevant because I was like, you know what? He's got special team experience and I will take it. So that was the Houston Texans draft. Let's move on to the Indianapolis Colts, who also took a quarterback in Anthony Richardson. So yeah, Colts, no Will Levis here. Will Levis is not an Indianapolis Colt. Matter of fact, he might be a Houston Texan with Will Levis jumping to second overall in the betting odds. But I gave him Richardson, uber tools, swing for the fences. And then Emmanuel Forbes, man, I like the idea of drafting a ball hawking corner with big play potential. And then I like the idea of developing Gervon Dexter behind the likes of DeForest Buckner and Grover Stewart. And then Carl Brooks was just good value at 106. I think he can play a versatile role, whether it's inside or out. But to be fair, he's probably playing inside on passing downs only. And then the linebacker talent was just kind of sliding down the board. So Noah Soul, I think, was good value at 138. The Colts, they don't really have too many dynamic weapons or change of pace players in the backfield behind Jonathan Taylor. So I grabbed Keaton Mitchell, who's also got return experience. Jalen Cropper Marino, there we go. Another guy with return experience, but I like his yak ability, and he's thin. He's probably going to be a slot player at the next level. Jackson Kirkland, just good depth along the defensive line. Oh, I just totally threw my phone. And finally, I grabbed Alex Austin, who's actually a pretty darn scheme fit in my opinion. So yeah, there's your draft class for the Indianapolis Colts. Let me know how I did. I'm not gonna lie to y'all, man. I felt like this was a really mid class, but sometimes that's just how the board falls. We'll talk about my least favorite draft class in a little bit, and it'll surprise you. The Jacksonville Jaguars. I snagged Brian Branch. Like, honestly, I was just trying to take the best players on the board, or maybe if I saw like, oh, this guy could definitely fill a role here. But I took Brian Branch, easiest pick of my life in this draft outside of Bryce Young. BJ Ojolari at 56 was just ridiculous value, and also maybe the Jags don't re-sign Josh Allen. Dwayne McBride honestly is kind of a great compliment to Travis Etienne. I kind of like that. Nick Sotavere, it was kind of a little higher than I'd probably want to take him at 121, but this dude probably could play all 5 positions, so I kind of valued that versatility. Keanu Benton's good depth at nose tackle, and Anthony Bradford is just good depth at guard, which was kind of a position that let them down last season. Aiden O'Connell, man, someone's got to compete for the backup spot for Trevor Lawrence. Like, you want at least someone to come in there and challenge CJ Beathard. And then Jonah Tavai was the best player on the board at 208, snagged him. And Mekhi Gardner is a big-bodied corner who I thought fit the scheme there. So all in all, I thought I came away with a pretty darn good class for the Jags. On to the Kansas City Chiefs. Gojo, let me know how I do. Gojo's knocked out. But listen, right tackle's kind of wide open for the Chiefs right now, and this tackle class just falls off a cliff after 7, and I say after 7, after like tackle 7, and I think Dwan Jones is tackle 7 for me. So I went ahead and snagged. No. I think he's tackle 6, and then we got Matthew Bergeron, who honestly could profile as a guard, but we'll get to him later. But I went ahead, I grabbed Dwan Jones, man. He's going to come in and he's going to immediately play right tackle for him. Sam Laporta at 63, just a really good after-the-catch target. I think he's got the ability to be more than just a tight end, too. He could be a big slot and such. He's not going to be just this guy that sits behind Kelsey for a few years. Isaiah McGuire just felt like a spag type of guy, so I snagged him. Tyler Scott at 122, more speed, got you a speedy vertical threat that this offense sort of missed last year, especially with McCole Hardman being a little banged up last year, and now he's on the Jets. So Travius Hodges Tomlinson, man, he may lack ideal physical tools, but the dude is a good football player, and I think should get picked. Broderick Martin he just brings meat to the interior of this defensive line rotation. Fahoko, another guy that kind of profiles as a Spags type guy. Miles Brooks was fits a heavy press man coverage, so he kind of fit the scheme there. Aubrey Miller Jr. is just this downhill thumper that could also be a special teamer, and Ali Gay is just decent depth on the line. I really tried hard to address pass rush with a few of these picks. All right, with the next draft class, we got the Las Vegas Raiders, and at number 7, I grabbed Christian Gonzalez, man. They dumped money at Jimmy G. It's I think it could be a 1 or 2 year deal. They could actually move on from it. But I think they will opt to not take Will Levis, who was kind of fallen at this point, and instead add much needed talent to the cornerback room. The dude's got great size and speed. And then I grabbed Mozzie Smith to be that big, meaty boy in the middle for the Raiders. And to be fair, there's not a lot of guys built that way. So I went ahead and snagged it when I could. And Byron Young, I think this dude's very athletically gifted. He just needs more polish. I thought he was a better run defender than people gave him credit for. I think he's a good backup for Chandler Jones, a good guy to sit and wait in the wings. And then I grabbed Tyler Steen, who honestly projects better as a guard for some teams. And if he does that, he could come in and immediately challenge for playing time for the Raiders. Got some linebacker depth with DeMarvin and Overshow, and depending on how you view JL Skinner, but he's coming off the torn pectoral, so he'll be out at the beginning of the year. But maybe he's a safety, maybe he's a linebacker. If he's a safety, he's a box safety. I really think he should convert to linebacker. And then I grabbed Yazir Abdullah. He is just a very interesting athlete that can be a versatile pass rusher and that actually drops into coverage as well. Like, I've seen him chase down running backs on wheel routes. It's kind of ludicrous. And then I grabbed more cornerback depth with Terrell Smith. He's just another guy that's a pretty good press corner. Jack Hader could come in and challenge immediately for the backup quarterback spot with Brian Hoyer. Maybe he's a possible developmental quarterback. Datavion Wicks was the top guy on my board. Could be the future slot. If they end up for some reason maybe moving on from Hunter Renfrow. Payne Durham, man, the dude is going to make for good depth, and he was one of the top guys on my board. And then Tyler Luebke, man, he could challenge Jacob Johnson. Johnson, I think, is only there on a one-year deal, so you could challenge him. And that was my draft class for the Raiders. Made a lot of picks. Let me know how I did, Raiders fans. And then we have the Los Angeles Chargers, the Superchargers. And I grabbed speed, man. This receiving core needs speed in the worst way. Zay Flowers is that speed. And then Tuli Pelotz is interesting because he's got a little versatility to him. He could be an eventual replacement for Khalil Mack. Grab Siaki Ika to be that big meaty boy in the middle that could create pileups because his run defense wasn't great. I grabbed Izzy Abanikanda, who is another home run threat that this team kind of neglects. And then Marte Mapu is one of my sleepers in this class. Whether you view him as a safety or a linebacker, I think he could help in both regards. And then Antonio Mafi was good guard depth. Will Mowry, he's a good receiving threat. That is a work in progress. Very much. Like, not the greatest ball skills. Not a guy that's going to, like, hold up as an inline blocker. All right, on to the Los Angeles Rams. And you're going to be like, I can't believe you took long snapper and punter. And y'all have yet to sign punter, long snapper, or even a kicker. I could have went kicker in here. You haven't replaced Matt Gay yet. Decide not to. Just pick up a UDFA kicker, like a Christopher Dunn at NC State or Harrison Mevis at a Mizzou, something like that. But with the Rams, they don't really have pass rush outside of Aaron Donald. And I think Will McDonald is a step in the right direction. I mean, so much so at 167, I was staring at Jose Ramirez. And I was like, this is an exceptional value, man. It really, really is. Like, just grabbing more pass rush. I love it. And then I grabbed Clark Phillips. Rams do like their smaller corners. Though not last year. Was it last year? Last year or the year before, they didn't actually really go after smaller guys. They went for bigger guys. But no, it was probably last year or the year before as well, because I'm thinking of Robert Rochelle. But they also have Darion Kendrick. But Clark Phillips, man, he's actually really, really good fit. And then, that's right, I grabbed Tanner McKee, man. There's no long-term plan in place for after Matthew Stafford. So I got him one. I like Tanner McKee's range there at 77. Then I grabbed Carter Warren. It was a good pickup if Noteboom gets hurt or if he just craps the bed again. On top of that, I did try to address offensive line a couple of more times after that with like John Gaines, who tested phenomenally at the combine. I think he's a good fit, especially with those movement skills. I think he's a good fit for the Rams. Grabbed Earl Bostick Jr. a little later, who played tackle for Kansas, but could probably projects a bit better at guard. Grabbed Davis Allen to be, just because he's a quality tight end too. He really is. And then Trey Dean really helps with the losses of Nick Scott and Taylor Rapp. And that's right, I got y'all a punter, and Michael Turk, and then got y'all a long snapper at 223 with Alex Ward. So there's your draft, Rams fans. All right, Miami Dolphins, and this was my least favorite draft of the bunch. It could have been, maybe it was just because there were only 4 picks. I don't know, but it was a bad position. Like, I'm a Dolphins fan. That's why it hurts. And they were just in an awful position. Like, they really need offensive line help. Bergeron was off the board. And I was like, that's really the last guy I can get here at 51. But I was like, you know what? Cody Mock's got really good movement skills. He played tackle for the Bisons. He probably more so profiles as an edge player, but he can't start that early on. So maybe if injuries occur, because you have Terran Armstead, maybe he could play tackle in a pinch. And then I went to South Dakota, so not too far from North Dakota, and got Tucker Kraft to help the Mike Gesicki loss. That probably doesn't matter that much. Trevor Reed can do backflips, man. This guy's very athletic. He can play both sides of the offensive line. And then Ventrell Miller, man, keeping him in his home state. Just a pretty darn solid all-around linebacker, but still not one of my favorite draft classes. On to the Minnesota Vikings. Where y'all at? Here we go. So no corner I wanted to swing there. Keep in mind, Deonte Banks, there we go, was off the board. So I was just willing to grab more ammo next to Justin Jefferson. So I grabbed a Jordan Addison. Moro Jamo might seem like a reach for some of y'all. This is about where I have him on my board. And I think he's actually early competition for Dean Lowry, who plays like a 4-5 tech role. Tank Bigsby was the best player on the board. He's a good fit for the offensive blocking scheme. And there's chances Dalvin Cook might get traded or just ends up being a post-June 1st cut. And then we know Kirk Cousins. He's done after this season. Could grab quarterback with the first 3 picks, but I got one here in Clayton Tune. So he's going to be your developmental guy right now. And Nick Jones out of Ball State projects well as a press corner, so grabbed him here for Flores. On to the New England Patriots, who have 11 picks. And it's a deep class, cornerback class, but the same can't really be said about the offensive line. Like, I thought the Patriots, you know what, we're in a good place to take Darnell Wright, start him immediately at right tackle. So that's what exactly I did, man. I grabbed Darnell Wright. And then at 46, Bill Belichick really loved Dante Hightower. And like, sure, Drew Sanders doesn't have, like, he's much lighter than Hightower was, but I could see a similar skill set. Then I grabbed Quan Martin to come in and play the slot instead of Miles Bryant. And I thought Andre Carter was actually a good developmental project at 107. So I got him there, grabbed Eli Ricks because he was the top corner on my board. Thought he could be a good fit in a press heavy system. And then the Patriots, they released Jake Bailey like a month ago, or Jack Bailey, excuse me. So they're the first ones to pull the trigger on a punter. They get Bryce Bariner. Kenny McIntosh is a good passing down back. He's got return experience. Make him your next James White. And I'm going to be honest, man, Charlie Jones just feels like a Patriot. He really does. Mekhi Blackman, he's just another press corner. Joey Fisher's offensive line depth. And then Kamari Connor, very versatile back with special teams experience. So all in all, I felt all right about this draft. Next, we got the New Orleans Saints. And I added the Saints, they added big meaty boys this season. Kind of, in Nate Shepard and... who's the other guy? It's on the tip of my tongue. Shepard. All I can think of is Shepard. Oh man, who was the other guy that they added? Oh man, I'm gonna look at it and I'll be so sad. Like, oh, I should have been able to rattle that off at the beginning. Colin Saunders. Should have known that. I actually liked him coming out of, I think it was Western Alabama. But yeah, no, we grabbed Adebari. Like, they got the big meaty boys on the interior. Grab this penetrator who had one of the best combines in history. And then Michael Mayer was just one of the best players on the board. And I truly believe he's an upgrade over guys like Adam Troutman and even Jawan Johnson, who you re-signed this past year. A.T. Perry has similar tested numbers to Michael Thomas, just has more length. So have him sit behind Michael Thomas and have him be that heir apparent. Then I grabbed Nick Herbig. He was the best player on the board. They just lost Caden Ellis. They liked Zach Bond, who's a similar player to some regard as to Nick Herbig. Comes from the same school as well. So maybe you take a shot on that, hoping you get a better Zach Bond. And with currently the looming suspension of Alvin Kamara, and honestly possibly the Saints potentially trading for him or trading him away, I grabbed Chase Brown. That's good value at 146. Jason Taylor, honestly, immediately very good special teamer that could learn and maybe replace the Honey Badger. John Ojoku, just good depth. Could play tackle, could play guard. And then Habakkuk Baldonado. I honestly think he's going to make a roster. Like, he's not a high upside dude. He's more of a high floor guy. Just a really good depth option. So, Saints, there's my draft class for you. On to the New York Football Giants. And you got to hear me out here, all right? You really do. You got to hear me out. There were no great options at pick 25. So, I am just going to go ahead and start the next run of corners and get the one that fits the system the most. And I think that guy is Tyreek Stevenson. I think he's the one that will fit that press heavy coverage of Wink. And then at pick 57, I really wanted Michael Wilson, but I feel like I reached a little bit in the first by just going ahead and jumping on the next tier of corners. So I want to maybe get a safer pick, and Luke Whippler is kind of that. And I was like, okay, maybe I could get receiver at 89. Fun fact, they literally all went off the board. I think there was 3 in a row that were right before me that happened after the 80s. And I was like, you know what? Jordan Battle is actually a guy that could compete with Bobby McCain, so I'm not mad about it. And then I was like, you know what? If it happens, it happens. I'm not gonna try to reach for a wide receiver in day 3. So Roshan Johnson was available at 128, and I was like, this is a nice bruiser to pair with Saquon Barkley. I was, again, unable to get those receivers in the early rounds, but I was like, you know what? Let's swing on that size and speed of Bryce Ford Whedon at 160. Dylan Horton is phenomenal value at 172. He really is high motor player that I think immediately good in the rotation. Asim Richards is just more O-line depth, and I mean, you took a UNC guy last year, so maybe you saw a little bit of Sims last year and this year, and you were like, yeah, we feel good about him. I know there's some people in the comments that be like, oh my gosh, you drafted 2 running backs for the freaking Giants, and it's like, okay, well, Mo Ibrahim was the best player on the board. And then when you think about it, it's like, Saquon's on the franchise. Is he back next year? Is he? And then I got Carrington Valentine, who's a good press corner. And then I know Derek Parrish, it says edge. This guy's just a football player who's, I think, going to make the roster. He can wear a lot of different hats. He could be a pass rusher. I think he could be off ball. Linebacker. He's going to be a special teams ace. Maybe even moving to tight end / fullback, which was something he's done in the past there at Houston. So you let me know, Giants fans. I tried. All right, on to the New York Jets. And until Aaron Rodgers is on this team, you're getting stuck with Zach Wilson, the MILF killer himself right here. All right, so at pick 13, I thought O-line, it just makes the most sense. Peter Skoronski, with him being so versatile. His comp for me is Elijah Vera Tucker, who, if you didn't know, the Jets traded up for a couple of years ago. And I think he's just a good fit for the offense. And it sounds like the Jets actually view him as a tackle, as that's what they have him down as on their board. And then Darnell Washington was just super fun fit. I liked it. Jack Campbell, very high floor player that can stabilize this linebacker room. And then I grabbed Daniel Scott, who just provides safety depth. Also a good special teamer. Keitrell Clark, who could be a very good sub-package player for the Jets. So there was that. Like, Michael Carter is like fine, the guy they currently have, but it's like, I don't know, man. Maybe Clark is necessary competition that just gets your position, like that position, playing better. Jordan McFadden, very good movement skills. Unfortunately, doesn't have the ideal measurables to be a tackle, but I thought he was a good fit for this offense. On to the Philadelphia Eagles, where, listen, I took Bijan. I had to talk myself into this. This was one of the picks, at least in the first round, that I spent the most time on. Like, if the Eagles didn't have another first round pick, I probably wouldn't be considering Bijan. If the Eagles didn't have one of the best offensive lines in football, I probably wouldn't be considering Bijan. Like, picking Bijan here makes him I believe in the top 10, or at least in that area of top 10 backs in the league in terms of being paid. And keep in mind, this team didn't bring back Miles Sanders, and if they draft Bijan at 10, Bijan's gonna be getting paid more yearly than what Miles Sanders got from Carolina. But I don't think I mind. Ultimately, I don't think he goes to the Eagles. This is me doing like maybe what I would do, or what I think would be good for the team. Like, I'm still considering good fits and whatnot for the team. I'm not gonna just bring in this guy's a good player, fit him however you want. I'm still trying to look for scheme fits, but Bijan's kind of the exception. He's that good. He's the best run prospect we've seen in quite some time. And then I grabbed a Bryan Bresee. I think the guy's best football is ahead of him, and I think he'd be a good running mate for Jordan Davis. I grabbed Antonio Johnson there. List him as safety. He's like safety slot, and yeah, he's a bit lower on my board than 62, but I really think he's a better fit here compared to like Sidney Brown, who was available. I just think he's a better fit. Pretty sure Sidney Brown was available. I can't remember now, but I think Johnson's just a better fit if you're trying to replace Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Antonio Johnson is just more suited for that coming downhill, playing in the box type of safety. And then Zach Harrison, like, I just went back to addressing the trenches and grabbed this big boy who goes fast, only in a straight line. And I know some Eagles fans are going to be like, he grabbed a freaking punter for us. I should have made a joke at Detroit about, I should have drafted all punters for Detroit. Oh, well. It's too late now. But listen, like, honestly, Eagles could draft a punter. Like, Adam Korsak ain't half bad. And if you remember going back, like back in the Super Bowl, your current punter, Aaron Siposs, he wasn't that good in the Super Bowl. I think he only had 2 punts. But like, one of them was that Kadarius Toney kick, where he kicked it opposite side of where the punt protection was going. So yeah, you don't need a punter. Well, your punter didn't play good in the Super Bowl. So then Rajon Wright, I thought was good value there. They're like literally the back end of the 7th round. I thought was really good value. Good developmental guy. So there it is. Pittsburgh Steelers. So hear me out. There was no Joey Porter. There was no Darnell Wright on the board. So I was like, you know what? Deonte Banks, he's a good fit for this defense. Maybe I could get lucky and get tackled later on. Well, DeJuan Jones went a pick ahead of 32. I was like, you know what? Screw it. We couldn't get Porter, couldn't get the home state boy. Let's at least get the hometown boy in Kalijah Cansey, who's honestly a good fit. Let's be fair. Cameron Hayward, he's up there in years. I know the production hasn't fallen off yet, but at some point it has to, right? So honestly, Cansey also pushes DeMarvin Leal. So I like that. And then I went back-to-back on the tackle class. Matthew Bergeron. I end up profiling better as a guard in the NFL. But, like, this is honestly their last serious shot at tackle. Unless they want to maybe try grabbing one, like Blake Freeland, Jalen Duncan at pick 80, which doesn't sound sexy. But I took my boy Wanya Morris. I said, screw it anyway. We're going to go ahead and double dip because I know Wanya Morris, this is me drafted for every team. He's not going to be at 120. And at that point, we're just going to be in big trouble. So Wanya Morris, a guy who can play either side of the offensive line, and he can play tackle, and he's got the build. Well, I say he can play tackle. He's played tackle the last 4 seasons. But he's got a build that's good enough to, like, profile well to guard if things don't work out. But I think they will, man, because, like, Wanya Morris has great size, great athleticism, just needs some polish on the tech, and dude's a former 5-star, man. He's got a pedigree to him. Anthony Johnson Jr., now that I'm seeing the typo there, so yeah, buddy. What was that? 2 typos in this whole thing thus far? I made 32 of these freaking slides, so I'm surprised there's only 2 typos. But that's Anthony Johnson Jr. out of Iowa State. I have him profiling as a good slot player in the NFL. I think playing away, or at least out of the box, is probably more ideal. Like, I don't think he's a good box safety because the missed tackle rate was up there, which doesn't surprise me because he played 4 years of corner before moving to slot/safety for Iowa State. I grabbed Mahmoud Diabate out of Utah, and he kind of profiles as the type of linebacker that the Steelers really want. And to be fair, this dude's going to get work early on special teams. It was a pick at the back end of the 7th round. Khalif Halasi out of Western Kentucky. Legit could probably play in any scheme. So I was like, yeah, probably could use another corner there. So I took it. On to the San Francisco 49ers. And your first pick isn't until 99. So the plan was just take the best player on the board, regardless of position. And though I did take scheme fit into account. Blake Freeland, good value at this class at tackle, because just this class isn't a good tackle class. Especially when you get to like there's a few guys far in between. But dude's got great movement skills. Yaya Diaby is just a twitched up athlete I think the Niners would love to develop. The Niners did lose Jimmy Ward. So Jamie Robinson, he doesn't have the same type of versatility, but he could be a nice weapon to have and probably maybe start him early in the slot. Starlin Thomas was the best player on the board. You got more cornerback depth. Congratulations. Andre Yoshivas needs to be developed, but the dude's got nice traits, and the Niners, they love traits. Josh Wiley was the best player on the board. Profiles as a tight end 2 in the NFL. Could be an H-back too, honestly. Maybe not, but perhaps. Nick Broecker was a good fit for the scheme. Best available at 216. Jay Ward, just a ridiculously good athlete that needs to be reined in, man. Needs to be more disciplined with his eyes. He plays too reactive instead of proactive. But he's got the versatility to play anywhere in the defensive backfield. We got Jacob Slade, high motor player. Elijah Higgins, very interesting prospect in terms of his blend of size and speed. He was also very good after the catch, which, hey, the Niners love that. And with the final pick, we all know the Niners, they love speed, and it always feels like every year they're at least bringing in one running back in the draft. So this year it's Deneric Prince out of Tulsa, who ran, I think it was a 4.41. I mean, I could look this up. I might as well. I'm here. This video, we already know this video is going to be mad long, so let's take a gander. What was it? 441. Look at that, dude. I've looked over like 600 different types of prospects. And look, I can still pull stuff out of my noggin without having to look at the notes. All right, on to the Seattle Seahawks. Listen, Jalen Carter is one of the best prospects in the class. And I honestly thought at this point that edge will be easier to come by at 20 or even in the second round. Matter of fact, there at pick 20, I grabbed Lucas Van Ness, being the best available. Was great value, and I'm feeling really good about the front seven at this point, or the defensive front. The Seahawks took an athletic center years ago in Ethan Posick. So I know that didn't work out. A lot of that was injuries too. But Joe Tippmann, he's also an athletic center, so grabbed him at 37. Listen, Tank Dell to me is better D. Eskridge, so sign me up. Yes, please. One of my favorite prospects in this class. Darius Rush, though, was great value. Now you get another monster corner there. Ooh, that corner class that cornerback room is looking scary. Sean Tucker, another guy that I'm a big fan of. Nice home run threat to pair up with Kenneth Walker. I grabbed then Braden Daniels, who adds some flexibility to the offensive line. May profile as a guard, but could also play tackle if you need him to in a pinch. Gerard Clark, man, is a very athletic 0 to 2 tech who is just going to be good for that attack in front. He really is. City Sal was drafted by the USFL, and I honestly think this guy, like, you give him a couple years, he could be a good NFL starter. Like, he's got a great great blend of size, strength, and movement skills. It's just like he needs that polish, a bit more to his game. And then I grabbed Max Duggan. Maybe he could challenge Drew Lock. I don't know. All right, on to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Buckaroonies. I know I didn't draft a quarterback, but maybe it's Tank for Caleb. Anywho, in this draft, listen, the pass rush died last year after Shaq Barrett went down and got hurt. So Nolan Smith was good value at 19. Dion Henley, I thought, was a good pickup here, especially knowing that Devin White might be traded, or they just might choose not to bring him back after this season. Also, Levante David is winding down his career, so I thought that was a good pickup. Mike Evans could be a trade candidate, so Cedric Tillman, I was like, oh, one of the top guys on the board, so let's go ahead and snag him here. And then there's this, I'm not picking for like 71 picks, and I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay, is what it is. We'll see what we can do. And I grabbed Brandon Joseph, and I put slot. I know he's a safety, but my plan is for him to play the slot. I think he profiles the best in the slot. One of his best years, and came in 2020. He was at Northwestern, where he played a large part in the slot. So I think he profiles as a slot guy. So yeah, grabbed him there. Warren McClendon profiles as a high floor tackle, so grabbed him. Just also grabbed more offensive line help as this thing kept going on, as I grabbed Emil Igor Jr., and then I grabbed McClendon Curtis. Grabbed 2 McClendons in the same draft. Isn't that wild? I grabbed McClendon first name and then McClendon last name. Kind of wild. But that dude's a big hoss. And I also grabbed Dante Stills, who's a high motor player who can play 4 or 5 tech. And you might be like, oh, you skipped a player. No, I didn't. Because I wanted to make this joke. Because in Tampa Bay, oh, watch out. There's an orgy coming. We got an orgy in Tampa. Anthony Orgy. He's more of a athletic run stuffing linebacker. So I kind of like that pickup. Like, if Levante David and Devin White end up not being a part of your squad in another like year or two, like, I think Orgy and Henley could be a solid duo. All right, we got the Tennessee Titans. We're almost down. We're down to the finish line here. Titans fans, y'all hate everything, I feel like. So we'll see how this class looks for y'all. I know Will Levis, he's not going to be here. It is what it is, but I'm not doing. I didn't do trade ups in this. This is what I would do. And Will Levis at 11, I'm like, you know what? Ryan Tannehill, he's done after this season. Malik Willis was a 3rd round pick, not a lot of investment. Let's bring in Will Levis, and in all honesty, maybe usurps Tannehill this year. I really did like the Steve Avila pick. I thought he was a great fit, good value. He could play center, he could play guard, he could really do whatever you need him to and be an immediate starter. And then the Titans didn't have another pick till 174, so I was like, if I want to go receiver, I have to do it now. So I grabbed Jonathan Mingo, who's just kind of this big receiver that tested extremely well. Mike Morris was my first pick at 147. A decade later, after it felt like, oh man, I haven't drafted him forever. Okay, Mike Morris, he's falling down the board. He's the top guy on the board. Kind of a tricky player to project, just when you consider his size and the athletic scores weren't that great. But I think Vrabel, I trust him to figure it out for Mike Morris. And then I doubled up at receiver. I did grab another one. And also another Arkansas receiver, Matt Landers here, who I think is a bit more athletically gifted, potentially. But to be fair, he didn't really do what the same things Traylon Burks could do. Just because maybe he's faster didn't mean he's better. But I think Landers, you could develop him into a solid wide receiver. And some people be like, why are you drafting running back? Blah, blah, blah. Sean Haskins, the heir apparent. I wasn't a fan of Hassan Haskins coming out. Still not to this day. Chris Rodriguez Jr. is just great depth here. Great value. He fits the atmosphere. Derrick Henry, does he end up getting traded? I don't know. We'll see. They might likely try to get off that contract sooner rather than later too. So you grab Will Levis's running back. Why not? It's a perfect pairing. And then finally we got the Washington Commandos. Get your rags out, wave them in the air, throw them on your face like you just don't care. Because I don't care if you think Ron Rivera doesn't draft corners in the first round. This is just good value. The coaching staff is reported saying, hey, we want to get more physical at corner. Joey Porter's sitting right there. You want to get more physical at corner? There's a physical corner right there. So, bam, I grabbed Joey Porter. And then at 47, I was like, okay, Luke Musgrave, Eric Benamy's in town. Let's go. Let's get him a tight end with big play potential. And then at 97, I grabbed Olusegun Oluwatimi. When you consider Chase Royer and Nick Gates, their injury history, I was like, yeah, Oluwatimi's kind of a no-brainer. He actually fits the scheme quite well, too. Then I grabbed Deuce Vaughn. Antonio Gibson will be a free agent after next season. Deuce Vaughn could kind of be your premier lightning in a bottle. Just a fun weapon for Benamy. And then I grabbed Ronnie Hickman, who is honestly a good option to challenge for the slot. It's probably where I profile him to be, but he also brings special team experience. And then D Winters at 193, just a good addition for the linebacker room. O'Shane Mathis was just the best player on the board. And at that point, I was like, yeah, just give me the best player on the board. And then I finished off this draft with Jake Witt out of Northern Michigan. He is a project, but keep in mind, this guy didn't start playing tackle until 2 years ago. Football till 3 or 4 years ago. So yeah, he's probably a guy that's going to sit on the practice squad. You could maybe develop him into something nice though. But that's it for the video. That's 7 rounds. Listen, tomorrow, if you made it this far, tomorrow we're going to be doing a walk the mock 7 rounds. So be there for that. I will be live streaming the draft all 3 days. So if you want to come watch it with me, then come and do that. But till next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.